Our next guest grew up in Pakistan, surrounded by color, culture, and creativity, and she's carried that inspiration all the way to Houston. Fariha Nasir turned her home into a canvas, transforming every corner with DIY flair. Today, she's the host of the home improvement show Problem Spaces. Fariha joins us to share stylish organization tips to start the new year off right. Hello there.
Hi, Deborah.
All right, that is some people, that was their biggest, New Year's resolution was to straighten up around the house and get things organized, starting with putting away all those Christmas ornaments,
oh,
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But the first thing we need to do if we do that, obviously, is get rid of the stuff that you don't need. Clear out. It's not that you might not have enough room. It might be that you're not using your space properly.
You're stealing one of my tips right now because everybody needs to declutter.
Right. Right. Okay. You grew up born in Pakistan, as I said, the youngest of 3 kids, and you had 2 older brothers, but your parents encouraged your creativity.
They absolutely did, and I'm fortunate for that because not a lot of South Asian families, push
engineering, law.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and here I am with a fine arts degree.
Yeah. All right. But your parents supported that, and it dovetails into so many different things, including what you do right now. All right. When did you move to America?
February 2013 is when I moved, and I moved straight to Houston from Karachi.
Yeah. And so what brought you here?
Well, I joined my husband. We met in high school, but he got a job in Houston, and I joined him.
Yeah.
And been here ever since.
And you started out in this little studio apartment, and this is where you were challenged to make it a space that was not only livable, but artsy and fun, too, and comfortable.
I know. Every space should be beautiful. And I remember a total of $600 to work with. And IKEA is where we went, bought the cheapest of everything, and then I used my suitcase full of art supplies, and I painted over furniture, and I just kind of, let my creativity shine.
Because it becomes yours then, right?
Yeah.
I love that. I love painting furniture. Like if at one point, if my husband and child did not get out of the way, I would have painted them as well. But it changes something completely, but makes it your own.
Absolutely.
All right. The birth of your blog happened when you basically were you were chronicling all the things that you were doing, and you found people saying, gosh, I love this. Thank you. Give us more. Give us more. And then, of course, you're the host of Problem Spaces. Explain what that show is to people who have not seen it.
So it's making over small spaces or rooms in your house that people don't know what to do with. They're problem spaces. And, it could be a flex room, an office, and maybe a room that serves multiple functions, and just giving people smart solutions for those spaces.
Yeah, or those odd beams and walls and things like that.
Oh
as
my
well.
gosh, yes.
All right, let's go through some things that people can keep in mind that you may have some of these things already around the house that you can make good use of.
So my first tip for you is going to be plan before you organize or buy. And that's such an important thing that people tend to forget. They'll just run out to the store and buy the organizers and bins first, and then try to make them work later.
Yeah.
So grab your painter's tape, plan out the shelves, plan out what bins you need, what works for your family, and go from there.
Yeah, because otherwise you might buy some stuff that you're not going to use, and you need to store that someplace,
yes,
right?
Absolutely.
All right. And then, that tape, that point you talked about, that way you know exactly what you're putting things into. All right. Use cafe curtains to hide visual clutter. There are some things that no matter what you do, it's just not pretty.
Yeah.
And so a great idea on those little curtains.
I absolutely love bringing fabric, color, and pattern into my spaces. And cafe curtains are a trend that we're going to keep seeing in 2026. But they're also a great organizational tool as well.
Yeah.
So in my pantry, that's where I have them. They hide the open shelving where I keep my bulk goods, my cat food. Nobody wants to see those big bags. And so these are so pretty to look at, but they hide all the messy stuff.
And you have no idea
them.
It's there to hide. You think it's kind of part of decor, right?
Yeah. And you don't just have to use them in your pantry. You can use them under the kitchen sink or a bathroom sink. In our laundry room is where I have them to hide the cat litter. So they're beautiful.
Yeah. All right. And I love this right here. Use different types of pots and things as organizers and drop zones. So there are organizing things. A lot of times they're made out of plastic or acrylic, and they're not that pretty. But this can do the job and be pretty.
I know. This is a gorgeous vase that I had in the house. but I repurposed it as a crock. So you don't necessarily have to use utilitarian objects or organizing bins for everything. A beautiful paper mache bowl can become a catch-all, and you're at your entryway. I literally grabbed this from the house as I was walking out this morning.
This is where all the sunglasses are.
I know,
right?
and a lot of dust, actually, which is sad. But this little pot right here, I love this, and I have this sitting on my guest bathroom countertop, and guests can drop their toothbrushes in. So it looks like decor, but it's functional.
Yeah, all right. The kids' playroom. This is one of those things that gets out of control. Whether it's the playroom or your kids' playroom happens to be right in your living room, right?
But people at home aren't going to like hearing this, but it has to be said. Buy fewer toys. Yep. I mean, it's the cold hard truth, but if you can't do that, declutter. That is one of my biggest tips. Go through your kids' toys when they're not looking, of course, and figure out what they're really not playing with. Because
the Tonka truck is missing a wheel, people. Come on.
I know, it can go. So my mom, my kids call me rage cleaning mom. So when I'm in that one of those phases, but trust me, we all need a little bit of that. Just to declutter and recycle some of the toys, and kids actually play better with fewer toys.
And when you have 5 billion Legos, do you really need that other set? Because if you put your mind to it, you can build with that thing over there with the Legos you already
absolutely
have.
Can.
All right, but with that said, there are some things that we can just put together in a much more organized way.
So if your kids love Nerf guns as much as my boys do, they're 3 and 9 and they're just obsessed with them. I use something called an over-the-door hanging storage system. What I use is an Alpha storage system from the Container Store. I couldn't bring the whole thing. I wish I could.
But we ignore that space. We're unaware that space is there. Right?
I have it hanging behind a closet door, and it's underutilized space. It's vertical space, keeps things off the floor. You could also get a similar pegboard system from Amazon, and you can just hook on these Nerf guns or any other slim toys on the pegboard.
Because otherwise, this is on the floor and you trip on it, and when the lights off.
I have been there, done that, and then it also comes with these cute little accessories, these bins that you can store all the little accessories in.
Yeah, look under the sofa and everything to find these, right?
I still have some of those, so I don't know how amazing this is, because my boys still take these out and then drop them everywhere.
Use grown-up furniture for kid spaces. Why do you say grown-up furniture for kid spaces?
Let me tell you, Deborah, I absolutely love using grown-up furniture for kid spaces because they last longer and they actually grow with the kids.
Yeah, and it's usually bigger, so you can store more stuff. Yeah.
So in my son's nursery, instead of getting a regular, like a kid's changing table, I got a full-size dresser, and it's going to last longer. It looks beautiful. It looks like a like a beautiful piece of furniture in there. And in our playroom, I have this gorgeous thrifted cabinet, which looks like decor, but it has arts and crafts supplies inside.
Yeah, and then even inside there, when stuff is put away, especially with small pieces, so you can find them, make sure that you keep them all together. But like you mentioned earlier, just in these little bowls and things, you can keep those small spaces there as puzzles, all that type of stuff. Otherwise, it will be lost forever. And then right here, just organized and neat. And this is kind of cool how you did this here.
Oh yeah, this I actually learned from a professional organizer. I'm so grateful for her because I don't know about you, but puzzles can become messy real fast, especially these ones for toddlers. They're always falling apart. And so she taught me how to use these clear zip top bags. You just drop all the pieces in and then use baking sheet organizers to separate all the puzzle pieces. Isn't that genius?
That is so smart. Yeah, that is. I wish I had known that because there's lots of puzzle pieces. I'm still finding puzzle pieces 20 years later.
My goodness.
Under things.
I'm not looking forward to that.
That is so smart to keep that stuff together. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
I love your story of how just something out of necessity for you became something that a lot of us can benefit from.
So glad to hear that.
All right. For more home improvement inspiration on a budget, visit greatdayhouston.com and we will connect you.